Right in. Imagine waking up in an America where there's no guaranteed retirement income, no healthcare support for seniors, no civil rights protections, and no affordable healthcare options at all. Hard to picture, right? But that was reality for millions of Americans not too long ago. Over the past century, a handful of landmark policies have reshaped this country in ways that still affect your everyday life, from the paycheck you earn to the doctor you see, to the rights you're guaranteed as a citizen. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is the place where we break down history, politics, and global issues in a way that's simple, engaging, and easy to understand. If you've ever wondered why things in America are the way they are, you're in the right spot. Today, we're diving into the top 5 policies that changed America forever. These aren't just random bills or boring pieces of legislations. The turning points that shifted the course of US history. And as we go through them, I want you to think, do these policies still serve Americans today? Or is it time for new changes? Stick around, because at the end, I'll ask you a big question that I'd love to hear your take on. All right, let's start with a policy that transformed what it means to grow old in America. The year is 1935. The country is still clawing its way out of the Great Depression. Unemployment is sky high. Families are struggling to survive, and millions of elderly Americans are living in poverty with no safety net. Before this year, if you got too old to work, your only option was to rely on family if you had any who could afford to help or charities. For many, that meant a life of poverty once their working years were over. Enter President Franklin D. Roosevelt and the Social Security Act of 1935. This law created a government-backed system where workers would pay into a fund through payroll taxes, and in return, they'd receive guaranteed retirement income later in life. At the time, it was revolutionary. Imagine being a 25-year-old worker in 1935, scraping by, and suddenly the government is saying, hey, pay into this system now, and when you're 65, you won't have to starve. Of course, Social Security didn't solve everything overnight. In the beginning, not everyone was covered. Domestic workers and many people of color, especially Black and Hispanic workers in certain jobs, were left out. But over the years, the system expanded, and it quickly became the foundation of America's retirement safety net. Think about it. Today, tens of millions of Americans rely on Social Security checks every month. Without it, the poverty rate among seniors would skyrocket. This single policy reshaped how Americans thought about retirement, government responsibility, and economic security. But it also opened a debate that continues to this day. Some people argue Social Security is running out of money, while others say it is more essential than ever in a time when pensions are rare and savings are hard to come by. What do you think? Should Social Security be expanded to cover even more people and needs? Or should the system be reformed completely for a new era? Now let's fast forward to the 1960s. America was booming economically, but socially, the country was at a breaking point. Segregation was still legal in many states. Black Americans were barred from schools, restaurants, buses, and even voting booths. The civil rights movement had been growing louder through the 1950s. But by 1963, the pressure for change was impossible to ignore. And then came the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson, this act was one of the most important pieces of legislation in U.S. history. It outlawed segregation in public places and banned discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. In short, it made separate but equal illegal. This was more than just a law. It was a moral turning point. Suddenly, doors that had been closed for generations began to open. Black Americans could finally demand equal treatment in schools, jobs, and public spaces, with the law on their side. Women also used the Civil Rights Act to challenge workplace discrimination, opening up opportunities that had been denied to them for centuries. Of course, passing the law didn't magically erase racism or sexism. Far from it. The Civil Rights Act sparked enormous backlash, especially in the South, where segregation was deeply entrenched. But over time, it became a powerful tool for change, laying the foundation for future movements like women's rights, LGBTQ rights, and disability rights. Think about how different America would look today without the Civil Rights Act. Imagine schools still divided by race, or job postings that openly excluded women. Hard to picture. That's exactly what this law changed. So here's a question for you. Do you think America has lived up to the promise of the Civil Rights Act? Or is the fight for equality still far from over? Just 1 year later, in 1965, another groundbreaking policy shook the country. The U.S. immigration system at the time was based on quotas that heavily favored people from Europe, while restricting immigrants from Asia, Africa, and other parts of the world. The result was a country that didn't reflect the diversity we think of today. Then came the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, also known as the Hart-Celler Act. This law eliminated those discriminatory quotas and instead created a new system that prioritized family reunification and skilled workers. The impact was immediate and profound. Suddenly, immigrants from Asia, Africa, and Latin America could come to the U.S. in much larger numbers. This one law changed the face of America. Without it, you wouldn't see the multicultural nation we know today. Cities like Los Angeles, Houston, and New York became melting pots of cultures, languages, and traditions. By 2020, more than 40 million people in the U.S. were foreign-born, a direct result of this shift in immigration policy. But of course, immigration is still one of the most heated debates in American politics. Some people celebrate the diversity and innovation immigrants bring, while others worry about jobs, culture, or national security. This tension goes back to 1965, when the U.S. first opened its doors in a new way. What about you? Do you think America has struck the right balance on immigration, or does the system need another big overhaul for the 21st century? Next, let's stay in 1965, because it was a year packed with major change. Beyond immigration, that same year brought another groundbreaking set of programs: Medicare and Medicaid. Signed into law, again by President Lyndon B. Johnson. These programs aim to solve a crisis. Millions of elderly and low-income Americans couldn't afford health care. Imagine being 70 years old in 1964, with no insurance and no money for a hospital bill. Getting sick could mean going bankrupt or worse. Medicare created health insurance for seniors, while Medicaid provided coverage for low-income families. Together, they fundamentally transformed American healthcare. For the first time, age or poverty didn't automatically mean you were shut out of the system. Today, over 150 million Americans are covered by either Medicare or Medicaid. These programs made healthcare a right for huge portions of the population, and they continue to be some of the most popular government programs ever created. But as with Social Security, there's constant debate about cost, sustainability, and expansion. Healthcare spending in the U.S. is sky high, and Medicare and Medicaid are at the center of the conversation. Still, it's impossible to deny their impact. They changed the very idea of healthcare in America. Quick question for you. Do you think healthcare should be treated as a universal right in the U.S., or should it stay tied to income, age, and employment? Finally, let's jump ahead to the 21st century. Healthcare was still a massive issue, with millions of Americans uninsured. In 2010, after years of debate, President Barack Obama signed into law the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. The goal was to expand healthcare coverage to millions more Americans by requiring insurance companies to cover people with pre-existing conditions, creating marketplaces where people could buy affordable plans, and expanding Medicaid in many states. For some, the ACA was life-changing. Millions gained insurance for the first time. Young adults could stay on their parents' plans until age 26. People with chronic illnesses no longer had to worry about being denied coverage. For others, though, the law became a symbol of government overreach. The ACA sparked fierce political battles, including multiple repeal attempts, lawsuits, and endless debates in Congress. Even today, it remains a divisive issue, but love it or hate it, the Affordable Care Act left its mark. It reshaped healthcare in America, bringing the conversation about universal access back to the center of politics. So that's another question. Do you think the Affordable Care Act was a step towards solving America's healthcare crisis? Or do we need something entirely new? So there you have it. 5 policies that change America forever. Social Security gave seniors economic security. The Civil Rights Act dismantled legal segregation. the Immigration and Nationality Act opened the doors to a diverse new America. Medicare and Medicaid ensured healthcare for seniors and low-income families, and the Affordable Care Act reshaped the healthcare system for millions more. Each of these policies sparked debate, faced resistance, and carried costs, but each also transformed the daily lives of millions of Americans. And that's the power of policy. It's not just words on paper, it's the framework of how we live together as a nation. Now, I want to leave you with the big question. Which of these policies do you think had the most lasting impact on America? And what kind of policy do you think the country needs next to face today's challenges? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is far from over. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into history, politics, and the forces shaping our world. Until next time, thanks for watching, and remember, understanding the past is the key to shaping the future.